They found it. 3 years of strenuous research. And they found it in a porno. Yeah, so everyone knows that Ulterior Motives is the Mysterious 80 song that spawned an active investigation throughout Was That Song, Reddit, and TikTok, and it's finally been found. I barely even believed it, so cool. Turns out they found it in an adult movie. You probably heard about it because it's pretty fun. It's a fun story. So the song is part of a larger genre of music that's called Lostwave. A broad Wikipedia definition is that Lostwave is a term for music with little to no information available about their origins, including song titles, names of associated musicians, and recording and release dates. And Lostwave is part of a greater umbrella of what's called lost media.
It was a quiet Saturday morning.
Zelinsky, give it a rest! It's Saturday!
Professor Wayne Zelinsky was hard at work on his new invention.
This thing works, it'll put us right up there with the invention of electricity.
Take me back to old Yazoo. Everything up here is new. I can't stand it, just must land it. Going back to old Yazoo. Everything you do.
Before we go any further, we really understand the difference between lost media and lost wave, because they are the same thing essentially. Lost media is you essentially have proof that something is out there, or you have the idea that something might be out there, but you don't have any physical or visual proof that it exists, like music, films, TV shows, video games. There's a lot of cases, it's just silent films that have not been saved. I mean, the moon landing wasn't even the original tape. It's lost. It was taped over. So what we have is just I think a TV recording. And Lost Wave is kind of what's trending right now. Is you have this snippet and you may Shazam it, look up the lyrics. I don't care. You will not find it anywhere. And that's Lost Wave. You're looking for who made it, why they made it, when did they make it? I think this really fits into the hyper nostalgic phenomena that are happening right now, and I think just in general we're Gen Z and stuff, we're a pretty nostalgic generation, and I think it's pretty cool, and it's really satisfying to have the quest, looking for something and finding it. Or I think even to live in that mystery is really fun and interesting. And a lot of the research is done through the internet, and I think everyone likes to dig through archives and old videos, and I think it's just really fun process. Lost media as a whole is something that I find eerily nostalgic. I think most of the time it's really weird, and for me I see it as it's a part of my brain I'm not supposed to explore. It's something I've forgotten and I didn't really want to go back to it, but everyone made it a big deal, and now I have to be confronted with it, and it's scary. But it's ultimately pretty fun, even though creepy. It's eerie, it's creepy.
Spooky, ooky, kooky, and creepy.
But it's so mysterious, it's fun. There are many investigators of lost media, and most of them are on Reddit. Yeah. Reddit is definitely not a cringy and embarrassing platform to browse on. And yeah, these investigators are usually very invested, very, very passionate about it. And I think there's something really charming actually about this. It's actually so dorky, and I think it's really charming. Yeah, adorable, one might say. There are way too many cases of lost media to list them all, but I think they're all so fascinating in their own way. And there's eventually a certain type that keeps them coming back. The most popular one I would say right now is Lost Wave, and it's a short snippet of a song that really sounds like it could have been a hit song, and for some reason most of them are from the 80s. I guess people really like music from the 80s. An example that's often mentioned is the most mysterious song in the world, also called Like the Wind. It's a very eerie 80s song. I think most of the recording, the snippets always sound really eerie because it's like, what? Like, ugh, it's like low quality. It's kind of like, ugh. I don't know if I'm supposed to hear this kind of like giving chills down your spine. I don't know, but yeah, it's yet to be found. It's actually a really old case. Apparently it's like 20 years old now. Obviously, the fact that everyone knows that has now been found is a very hopeful lead, and maybe that song will be found like really soon. Hopefully. Also, when we're talking about famous cases of lost wave and lost media, there can be a lot of hoaxes or trolls. The most recent example I would say is Digital Girl. It was like a song they were saying was completely unknown and sounded really like Y2K 2000s kind of Euro dance. Turns out it was a hoax. It was reportedly used to promote this artist's music, and I think that makes a lot of sense because like a 2000s thing that's lost, you know, that's really rare. It's really rare that a song, a Eurodance song, would be lost. Maybe if it was like from a deep village in Serbia, but other than that, I think you can like pretty easily find Eurodance. Sometimes they're not even hoaxes to promote music, they're just people that want to gather attention, and there's a lot of people who actually think that the guy behind Everyone Knows That, you know, anonymously dubbed Carl 92, actually was a troll, and he knew exactly where the song came from, but he just wanted the entire internet to browse through multiple pornos to find the song, and I think that's really funny. But I actually do genuinely think that it was just some guy who was like really into that music and the porn. I really think, and I want to think that. It's much funner, come on. Usually it can also happen when people like go to a store, go to a thrift store, and they'll find some kind of underground mixtape or a CD from a garage band, and they'll be like, hey, like, who made this? I want to know. And usually the tapings can be like there, you can definitely hear them, you have information from the tape, but it's either distorted or the song, like most of the files can be corrupted if it's like a USB file or something. But I just was thinking about this song, I was like, you know, lost media is so interesting, and I know that personally, like when I think about my childhood and things like that, there's so many things that are completely erased, and I know that I can never find them again, probably. For example, I grew up in Quebec, so I listened to a lot of movies and TV shows that were dubbed in what's called Canadian French, and they can be really hard to find because it's not French, it's not the same dubbing for some reason, and it's also like not usually included in most DVD stores that you'll find in Canada as a whole. Like, for example, I grew up with so many shows on Teletoon, and I know they're like readily available in English, but I know that it's kind of like entitlement, because today I feel like we have access to literally everything we want, and then I don't have access to like this random TV show that I watched as a kid, and I'm like, where is it? I want to see it so bad. Like girl, come on. Like, it's fine. You're not gonna find everything as easily as other things. Also, flash games are really, like, some flash games are just completely lost because of the Adobe update or whatever happened, and now we don't have any flash games. And although some games, for example, the Papa's games, like, they're still saved, you can still download them and play them on like SWF files, and I know that I finished the entire Papa's Superior game that way. So there are games that were saved and preserved. Some of them are still on the internet today but are not in the flash file, and some games is just like completely lost. You just don't have access to them anymore because no one thought it was like interesting to save. And I've noticed a lot of them are like promotional games. For example, the Gushers game. There was also one that I played as a kid that was for like the cheese strings from Black Diamond. I'm pretty sure they had like a flash game you could play as well. There's also like scrapped Disney Channel pilots, like from Hannah Montana to Shake It Up. So I think it's interesting because like they're really recent stuff. It's not like all from the 80s or from the, you know, the silent films that we've all lost in the US from the 20s, the 30s. No, some of them are like really recent, and I think that's terrifying. I wanted to talk about one of my favorite TV shows of all time, which is Daria. And there's a lot of Daria fans out there that realize that when you go and watch Daria on Hulu, the music has been replaced with like copyright-free music. But at the time, what made Daria so charming was that, you know, there was like all this pop music that played on the radio, or like alt rock music. For example, I know there's a lot of Fiona Apple in the Daria episodes. There's like Spice Girls, Radiohead, Korn, and all that stuff has been completely scrapped. So these Daria fans that are also really talented animators basically reworked the whole show, made it upscale, and they inserted the music back again, and it's such a fun experience. Like, it's amazing. I'll show you like a before and after, because I think it really makes this show like so much better to watch.
Sheer, semi-sheer, or opaque? Textured!
Isn't one of you enough?
Go away! I'm concentrating. Sheer, semi-sheer, or opaque? Textured!
Isn't one of you enough?
Go away! I'm concentrating.
That's an example of like, we are not letting this media get lost. I just want to end the video with my own little investigation. And I understand there's so many of them that, you know, just throwing one more is not really important and no one cares. But it's one that personally like always fascinated me. And I'm thinking like, let's throw it out there and let's reflect on it. And it's essentially like a word of mouth thing. So that's why I'm really excited to talk about it. So I'll tell you the little story of An Luu. So I remember I was in class and I had this friend of mine who gave me a little post-it, and on there was written An Luu, Olida, Hiroshima, and it was essentially a song recommendation. So I go over on Apple Music, I look for the song, and I can't find it, but I did find the artist, An Luu. So if you go over on Apple Music or Spotify or any other streaming platform, you'll find only 2 songs on there, one from 88 and one from 89 respectively. Pourquoi tu ne fais plus de coups? Why don't you beat me no more?
Pourquoi tu me fous plus des coups? Qu'est-ce qui cloche entre nous?
And the other one, Les hommes sont tous les mêmes, all men are the same.
Les hommes sont tous les mêmes, surtout celui que j'aime. C'est pas une femme qui veut, c'est un harem.
So I look it up on YouTube and I find it. So it's not a lost media case. The song is out there.
Nuit câline, nuit de chez Lolita Hiroshima.
There's probably no traces of like the original song, and you can only find it through like tape recordings. This gorgeous 80s song, very like synth pop, and it's from 83. And if you look further, you can find another song that was also included on the album, and it's called Poupée de série B, which essentially means B-doll, as in B-movie, B-list.
Je suis une poupée de série B. Un petit bébé pour tous les bébés.
So, what the hell? First of all, who is An Luu? So An Luu is a French-Vietnamese actress and singer who really blew up in 1981 in her role for Diva. Diva is kind of like a cold classic, like French thriller. If you did like any film class, you probably like had to watch that movie at some point. She was really young when she played that role. I looked up like some archives, and some people said that like she was under 20, and some are like, oh, she was 14 when she taped the movie, which would make the movie child porn. That means she was probably born in like 1966, and that she started her musical career at 16 or 17. What does that make of, like, what's the case here? What's the lost media? Like, you could find the 2 songs, and you could find another set of 2 songs. So you have a double feature coming out in 83. And then your next single in 88, which was kind of a hit, probably the most successful song, and then 89. But you know, what about 1984? 1984 means a cursed year. And I think maybe that's why my interest has peaked so much there, but I think there's an album out there. I definitely think there must be demos, there must be something, because she worked with crazy songwriters, crazy popular. She worked with the label Carrère, and they usually worked with like these teenagers. Now, her songs are really scary. Her songs are scary. The lyrics are really unsettling. Lolita Hiroshima is about being like a Lolita, so being like a really young girl. And France, if you know France, like they have an obsession with young girls. Anyways, there's this whole disgusting like Lolita thing, this practice that they have in France. You should probably check out this video because she talks in depth about it. Poupée de série B, or B doll, is actually on the B side. Makes a lot of sense. And it's about this young girl who stars in B movies, who you know, is kind of like the star, and she wants to be the star forever. And you know, they kind of reflect her career, because you know, she played after her big role in Diva in a lot of B movies. It feels so on the nose, and it's really disturbing actually. You know, it's a really interesting case. It really stems from nothing. I asked some of the people who posted her tapings on YouTube if they had any more info on her, and none of them did. So yeah, we don't have much info on her, and a lot of it is speculation. But I think that if we potentially find demos, we potentially find proof that she had any song between 1983 and 1988, we could potentially have like one of the most interesting cases of, you know, 80s synth pop that's been lost. And if you look at the grand scheme of things, there weren't a lot of 80s female pop stars in France. They could have had that huge pop star in An Luu, but it never happened. I think it's so interesting. It's also important to note that these songs didn't really do well, but there is kind of a cult following around Pourquoi tu me fous plus de coups? Why don't you beat me no more? Like, there's a lot of people that checked out the Genius page, that checked out the music video, you know, like there's a bit of a like mystery surrounding An Luu. So yeah, I'm really curious. So if you have any more info, like please comment downstairs. If you need like any translations in your research, I got you. And don't hesitate to dig the sketchy blogs, because that's how I got a lot of my info. But some people are really good on Google. Don't hesitate to look up your country's national archives websites or go to the library. You know, a lot of the lost media can just be found in, you know, the media environment that's physical. And let me know if there's any other like fun lost media cases that we could potentially like talk about in videos to come. I don't know, it's just such an interesting topic to me, and thank you so much for sticking around.
Just gotta keep our eyes open.